Hey y'all, welcome to Veggie Farming. I'm Stacy. We are indoors today because it's time for fall gardening. I'm in zone 8B, North Texas, and I start all of my seeds for my fall garden indoors. We've been skating right up to the 100-degree mark for the last couple of weeks, so it was just still too hot outside. So I prefer to start my seeds indoors hydroponically, and then I uppot them. And I'm going to show you that process. And right now my seedlings are looking very good. So I'm off to a good start. So let's get started. When I'm starting seeds, I like to use seed starting mix, Jiffy seed starting mix. I already have it moistened and I actually put boiling water in it. I let it cool off. The seed starting mix does not have any fertilizer or anything in it. And the first thing I'm going to add will be these worm castings. So another thing I like to add in is this neem seed meal, and that's to help prevent some of the fungus gnats. It also has some nutrition in it. It's a 612 NPK, so it also will add some nutrition to this seed starting mix. And I'm not going to add a lot. Let's see, it does have a smell. So you have to be careful how much you add. And also, once you add it, you want to make sure you thoroughly mix it in. It is organic matter, and so if you don't mix it in, it will sit on top of this seed starting mix and form almost like a little mold as it is under the light. So you just make sure it's thoroughly mixed in. Fungus gnats is one of the major concerns when growing seedlings indoors, and so I'm going to be trying to combat them a couple of different ways. I'm going to be using this yellow sticky paper along with the neem seed meal that I showed, as well as adding a layer of vermiculite to the top of all of my seedlings. And in addition to all of that, all else fails, I also have a bug zapper here that will hopefully catch anything that's flying around once the lights are off in the evening. I mentioned that I start all of my seedlings indoors hydroponically, so let me show you what that looks like. I have several different hydroponic systems, but this one is the AeroGarden Bounty Basic, and it comes with a top with just 9 holes in the top. And so you would just put the basket in and put the sponge right in there, and this limits you to just 9 plants in this top. I start mine in this seed starting system, and this has 50 different holes in it. And so you just plant the sponge right in there, and you can start 50 plants. And then when they're a decent size, I uppot them. So I ran out of the AeroGarden sponges and I started looking into different kinds. I did see some people recommended these Park Seed Bio sponges. I'll show you what these look like. So you can see it's pretty porous. And then here's the Gordic sponges, and I got these on Amazon. I'll show you what these look like. And I'll show you them in comparison to each other. And you can see how dense this Gordic sponge is, and the Park Seed sponge is more porous. And originally, I'll show you this AeroGarden. Well, this is one of the pre-filled, but this is what the replacement sponges look like. And you can see that that's pretty porous as well. I'll show you all 3 in comparison. So this is the AeroGarden, this is the Gordic sponge, and this is the Park Seed sponge. They all will swell up in water, and if you're using the basket, they all fit into the baskets as well. This Gordic sponge looks smaller, but it swells up in water. And then the AeroGarden sponge fits there. They all swell up and will fit into the basket, or they will fit right into the seed starting system. So as you can see, I use quite a few of these sponges, so I was trying to find which one was best for me. I also found a new system that instead of having a replacement top, it only has a I think it's 52 seed cells, and I'm trying this one out to see how I like that. I didn't think it would make a difference, but after using these for the first time, I'm finding that I do prefer the more porous sponges as opposed to these thick, dense sponges. And part of that is the way that I handle seed starting. I will put multiple seeds and then separate it. So once this is full of water, it is much easier to separate because it's porous. Let me show you how I uppot from the hydroponic system. As you can see, I have multiple seedlings in this sponge. And what I'm going to do is go through and look for the smallest, weakest seedlings and get rid of those. In this sponge, there's just one that looks really weak, so I'm going to thin that out, and that just means get rid of the smallest one. You can snip it out with scissors. In this case, it just slipped right out, so I just pulled it out of the sponge. Now I'm left with 3 larger seedlings that all look about the same, so I'm going to try to keep all 3. I'm going to start by removing these lower leaves, these little seed leaves or cotyledon leaves. The plant no longer needs those, so I'm just going to take them off. And then I'm going to start removing parts of the sponge that don't have any plant roots in it. I want to bury as little of the sponge as I have to. So I'm going to take off that top rim that doesn't have any roots, and I can see how the plants are connected on the inside. And I can start to see that the sponge isn't tearing apart quite as easily as it usually does. So I'm being a little gentle and trying to keep the roots intact, but just removing pieces of the sponge. So as I separate them, I slip them right into a cup of water to keep them wet because they're used to being in this water. One of them I lost. I couldn't get enough roots separated, so I let that one go, and I just ended up with 2 plants out of that sponge. I have my seedling trays filled with my seed starting mix, so I'm just going to take the back of my spoon and make a deep hole in the center of each one so that I can slip the roots right inside and cover it with soil. With this plant, I had learned the lesson about how to use these Gordic sponges, so I separated out the weaker seedlings already. I didn't break the sponge apart, so I'll be planting the whole sponge and all the roots right inside the hole. To pot up my seedlings today, I'm using the vegogarden seed starting bundle. Each of these has its own humidity dome with a built-in irrigation feature. Has a hole in the center. You can put water in there and it will slowly drip down into each cell of the tray. This is the jumbo size. It's about 4 inches, has air pruning strips and a hole at the bottom to make it easy to transplant out of. It's made out of very sturdy food grade plastic, and it said it'll last a lifetime. So this is what the seedlings are looking like. This is a vegogarden tray. And here are the others. The larger plants, I pot some of them up into these cups. I think these are 16 or 18 ounce cups. And I always have the hardest time once I take them outside in the 10 by 20 tray. They continue to fall over in the wind. So I found these cup holders on sale, and I bought quite a few of them. They have a handle. And so that way when I take them outside to harden them off or just let them sit for a while and get used to being outside, I can use these and I don't have to worry about them blowing over. And I can even bottom water in these. All of these cups have holes in the bottom, so these are going to come in handy. Let me show you what some of the smaller seedlings look like. They're still really limp. They haven't bounced back. These were some of the seedlings, the smaller seedlings in the new seed sponges that I couldn't separate as well, Normally with the more porous sponges, I can separate them really easily and get more root with it when I separate it. But when I was separating these new sponges, they were tearing a lot of the roots. And so these may not bounce back. Now that I have the seedlings potted up, it's time for me to get them under grow lights so they can continue to grow indoors a little longer until it's cooled off enough for them to go outside. vegogarden sent over this 4-tier grow light shelf with storage at the bottom. And additional storage is something I desperately need in my small space. I've been told that my gardening is taking over the house. So in the box, there's a manual, an accessories bag, gloves, and all the pieces needed to put it together. Putting this together was a one-person job. I did it alone, and most of the shelving just clicked together with the push of a button. The most unique part of this assembly was putting the storage cabinet together. It requires you to bend a few metal tabs to secure the pieces in place. But once I attached the storage cabinet to the top shelf, I added the wheels and then rolled it into place. Next, I added the shelves, and they're adjustable so you can move them based on the height of your plants. This shelving comes with 3 magnetic grow lights that can be connected together with one power cord. Each one is controlled individually with a preset lighting mode based on what you're growing. There's a mode for seeds, leafy greens, fruits, herbs, and microgreens. The magnets holding this grow light to the shelf are very strong, so there's no worries about how stable this lighting will be. Even the power cords can be managed with magnetic tabs included with the shelf. I'm growing indoors in my living area, so I'm impressed with how much nicer this shelving looks than the regular wire shelving that I have. The storage cabinet helps me hide away some of the tools and supplies that I have to use every day when I'm seed starting. I'm just in love with this cabinet. It makes me want to check on my plants even more often. This cabinet is on sale right now at vegogarden.com, and you can use my code VeggieFarming10 to get a discount on this shelf or the seed starting bundle. And look around, they have lots of gardening supplies. So happy growing, and I'll keep you posted on how these seedlings grow in.